First Coast's most accurate forecast from the First Coast News Weather Team, certified by Weather Rate, sponsored by AC Designs.
Talk about the tropics here on our Thursday morning. I'm meteorologist Robert Spett. I have chief meteorologist Lewis Turner.
Robert, good to see you.
Always a fantastic time being here with you, Lou. It's not always fantastic talking about the tropics, but let's be honest with each other and the viewers here. Gabrielle, it's a tropical storm, but
not impressive in any way.
Yeah, if it was a dinner meal, it would not be a gourmet one. It would be the slop left over. It is absolutely ripped apart. I'm a little surprised, actually, that the NHC is still calling for a Cat 1 with this.
Yeah.
Maybe there could be a brief period of time in the extended forecast, but for now, yeah. Let's actually look at the satellite imagery.
Interesting analogy with the dinner.
Dinner, yes.
If this was served to you, what would this be?
Yeah.
Interesting. The infrared, you do see a low-level swirl there, but kind of going against the grain from everything coming out of the south. Look at that. So you've got that shear kind of coming out of the south. It's just not that well-organized, defined. The flattening up north on the top. It's just... If tropical storm, we've got the winds, certainly, so they're going to hold on to that tropical storm force strength. One of the things about the track in the forecast is if it were to become a hurricane, it's kind of getting later and later. I mean, earlier forecasting had, maybe by late Saturday night into Sunday could become a Category 1 storm, but this now it's kind of maybe Monday before that happens. Still want Bermuda and interest in Bermuda to monitor this very carefully. We have shipping lanes out of Jacksport that do supply runs over to Bermuda and vice versa. And so those are things to think about of interest. But otherwise, East Coast of the United States in the clear for this one.
Yeah, and outside of maybe some waves, and even then, it probably wouldn't be too bad.
It's not going to be like Aaron, and
Yes.
even that we've had bigger and better surf post Aaron just because of these coastal troughs that have set up in the nor'easters we've had. So I could have a higher rip current risk, but we're already going to by Sunday we're going to have a synoptic setup that's going to provide enough of that anyway. That Aaron or Gabrielle, I've got Aaron on the brain because of this track. Gabrielle's not. I don't know if it's going to be just a match on a fire. I don't see it. So there's your wave heights as we go through the weekend, and I'm thinking it's more our tightening pressure gradient. High to the north, that trough to our east that might do it. So
I agree with you. I mean, we got, of course, here's your kind of low just off towards the east. You have their little tropical storm at that time.
Yep.
Right, let me see, put it on the screen. Right about there.
Sure.
And what Lou's talking about is this troughing right in here, and then we get this high pressure ridge just up here. So it's this interaction in concert with each other that's kind of kicking those winds out of the north and east. But otherwise, even the ensembles, the GFS and the ECMWF don't really show this developing all too much until it starts to turn towards the northeast and becomes to go extra tropical here. Also, the other thing we've been talking about for the last few days, the big dip in the jet stream. So you got that troughing set up that is just going to rip this and pull it towards north and east. And, Lou, I think for the rest of September, I'm trying to be optimistic here, but as long as that dip in the trough is still there with that shear, that's going to hinder tropical activity for the time being on the East Coast. What do you think?
Absolutely. And you brought the East Coast, right? So if these longer track African wave type storms continue with this dip, which is a little, we're getting into that time of the year where the jet begins to make its way a little further south. We've got our equinox happening Monday. We are having our change of the seasons. So the kind of late season incubation zone for hurricane and tropical development is going to shift back to what we see in the early part of the season, which is Caribbean and Gulf. And near Central America, Western Caribbean, and Gulf. And so that, while storms can get sheared up by that dipping jet, they can also get steered up and into Gulf Coast. So we think East Coast maybe has that barrier, West Coast of Florida, and then, of course, for us, we see impacts from that a lot. Bigger picture look here, Robert.
Yeah, the bigger picture look, we still have a low chance tropical development all the way off of the west coast of Africa. And I point this out too, it kind of goes and follows up. Let's say that next area decided it wanted to organize. And nothing's really showing this right now. And it tracks south and headed out towards the Caribbean. I think that's what Lou's talking about here with those storms a little bit further towards the south. Think of Ian, Helene, all were kind of these Caribbean track storms. And you know what also was a storm that formed off of the west coast of Africa here, and it intensified significantly and made landfall on the Carolinas in 1989.
We're going back 36?
It's about 36 years, and that was Hugo. So let's
Hurricane Hugo. Should we bring in a special guest?
Let's bring in a special guest.
We got Brody Logan. Good morning, Jacksonville anchor.
This camera's not.
Is his mic working at least?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Well, we hear you.
Yeah, audio only. I'll be audio
only. We'll do
only.
it podcast style. We're going to talk memories a little bit of Hugo, and this is a pretty good satellite image. This was a big bad beast, and this would have been September 21st, making landfall along the coast of South Carolina, very near Charleston, but technically closer to McClellanville, so just north of Charleston. This, again, kind of my formative hurricane. That's an image right there that I always remember, I look at, and I think about, because we had those swing bridges all over the low country of South Carolina. In fact, my hometown of Beaufort still has one. It's kind of a historic bridge, that swing bridge. And I always remember as a kid seeing that image of that bridge kind of just tilted. And I think to myself, Mom, Dad, can this happen? Like, oh my God. And every time we go over one of those bridges, I'd be freaked out. It takes a massive major hurricane like Hugo making landfall. So now let's bring in Brody.
Okay.
And so
as a hurricane experiencer.
Yeah.
I guess that would be
what's your memories?
Okay, so we are of the same age roughly.
Yeah.
So Hugo is the first hurricane I can remember following as a kid because it was this massive, super strong hurricane in the Caribbean. I think like just off the coast of Puerto Rico, somewhere around that area, is when it was really strong. And I remember even tracking it, right? Like you get from Publix, the thing you with the dots.
Bring those back.
Bring those back.
Tracking maps. We got to bring those back.
We got to bring tracking maps back.
I love the tracking maps.
And branded tracking.
We need it.
That's what we need to do.
They're so good.
Put it on the book cover. I remember that we used to have them also on the book covers in school. You could cover your books.
Yep.
But I grew up in a barrier island, the Treasure Coast, Hutchinson Island, Fort Pierce area. So we would have to evacuate as a kid, no matter if a hurricane was within like 500 miles the track potentially, because you never know what it's going to do. You never know what you have to do.
Right.
So I would just always know, okay, do I have to pack up all my baseball cards?
Oh, and did you?
And that's because my mom would say, pack what you can't replace.
Right. And those baseball cards.
And for me, it was like it was baseball cards.
1989, right?
Yes,
there.
yes. So I would pack up my baseball cards, and then we'd go visit family in Central Florida because they weren't as well. The brunt of the storm wouldn't really hit them. But I remember this one because it took that northward turn late, and we were like, oh, thankful. But then obviously you see what ended up happening to your neck of the woods.
To Carolinas. Yeah, I was just down the road, Beaufort's hometown, as I mentioned, that's just south of South Charleston. 86 deaths caused by this system and did massive damage. A retired name. We'll never see another Hugo. But it's interesting you bring up having to evacuate even in the Treasure Coast. So in 1989, so your forecast error from the National Hurricane Center, and this was built into the cone, built into the forecast. I mean, you're talking about even 72 hours out, a forecast error of almost 150 to 200 miles built into these things.
Yeah.
So you had to. Right. And just the technology is not as sophisticated as it is right now. But, the images here, and a lot of people made the decisions not to evacuate because a lot of people on the coast of South Carolina said, well, we've been through these before. We don't evacuate. and that's why you had that loss of life. And it was because of water. I mean, certainly wind damage that you see, but the killer in hurricanes is the water. And the storm surge so massive. I mean, some places 15 feet and above, like McClellanville. I did a story with a gentleman who survived. McClellanville decided not to evacuate, sent his wife and son away, and he tied himself to his hot water heater in his attic. And, by the time the storm's over, his house is blown apart. He's tied to a water heater in an attic. And is left having to walk from McClellanville to Charleston, which is a 30-minute car ride. So just unbelievable stories here. The technology changed so much, though, and to bring this up, you mentioned, again, the Treasure Coast, the 150 to 200-mile error in that short period of time of forecasting. Now, error is about 50 miles. Right, so that's how tight things have gotten, at least with forecasting. And at least we learn from things like this. These are those formative hurricanes. Hugo's one. Andrew is, another.
100%.
Katrina is one. And each one of these formative kind of novels in and of themselves, Logan, Brody, sorry, kind of what they do, they learn. We get better, and now with the tightening air, we can kind of be more efficient with evacuations.
And it is interesting you mentioned with people wanting to ride out the storm. And it's almost as if, as Floridians, you get accustomed to, it weakened. Mm-hmm. It became a tropical storm. It's not really going to hit here. So people, you don't have that built in to just say, no, you take it seriously, you evacuate, you get out no matter what.
Yep.
No matter if you might be hit by it directly or it might come across the entire state and still hit you, because you can still be, you can still have the impacts no matter what. I mean, like growing up on a barrier island, it wasn't just the brunt of the storm coming in from the Atlantic. You had the Indian River, the intercoastal on the other side.
Right.
So it's like that can rise just
100%.
as much as the storm surge can hit you on the other side.
And Hugo, an example, you think about what Helene did last year, right? So massive impacts along the coastline, but even more devastating loss of life so far inland. And it's why even as the Hurricane Center evolves, we're getting more inland potential for hurricane warnings and tropical storm warnings, which wasn't the way it was in the past. And because Hugo, as making landfall, even by the time it was in Sumter County and moving up towards Charlotte, was still a Category 2 hurricane. So well inland, so that caused loss of life inland because, people, either if they did evacuate, they thought, Columbia would be safe, right there in the Midlands.
Right.
Or, go to Charlotte, that's safe. Or the people who live there who said, why would I evacuate? Why would I leave? And, of course, you run from the water, hide from the wind. So you're not worried so much about surge, but it did dump a ton of rain and cause some devastation, even up Interstate 26 to 77 there.
And that's also right. We see this graphic of the track that doesn't give a sense of just how huge this storm was,
Correct.
How much area it covered, and because of that, how strong it could still be as it goes inland. I mean, you see here, it's a tropical storm in West Virginia, in Ohio.
Right.
We were talking about Hurricane Donna.
Yeah.
And I was looking it up, and it was talking about how Hurricane Donna had, because it kept going off the coast and then reforming a bit, getting stronger, and it would hit the New England area with 100-mile-per-hour winds.
Yeah.
So like depending on how big and how strong the storm is, it's not just the coast.
Yeah.
Not even close.
You're exactly right. Brody, I appreciate you, man.
Yeah,
it's
thank you.
Fascinating stuff. It's good to look back, kind of thinking about those things that made you who you are, and why I personally got into weather. Hugo, the loss of life, it just kind of triggered me even as a kid, and then Andrew. Those two in my younger years are why it's like, okay, what can I do? How can I learn more about this? And that's essentially what triggered the love of weather. You know what I mean? And I know as Floridian, Andrew's got to be, top of mind as well. 100%.
Yeah, that was, I remember tracking that storm as well and having to evacuate. And I remember watching the coverage at my grandmother's house in the Orlando area, and just the devastation and then everything that happened after it, and just completely changing building codes, not just for Miami-Dade County, not just for South Florida, for all of Florida, for all the country.
Yeah.
Right. And just changing so many lives. And that's partially why you mentioned earlier how the wind isn't as big of a concern compared to the water and the flooding now. I mean, a lot of that is because of the changes that were made after Hurricane Andrew.
Correct.
You see those, it almost looked like a massive tornado went through all of Homestead, right?
Homestead was flattened.
It was just completely flattened, which is just
War zone.
crazy to think about nowadays, right? That a hurricane could even do that because we build so much differently now.
You can still drive. It's been years since I've been down there, but even just a few years ago, driving through Homestead, you still see. I mean, it still has. There's hints.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? There's history still kind of built up in the way it's kind of spooky, and sometimes driving through South Florida with that. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks.
Let's
for having me.
let's bring meteorologist Robert Spetto. Let's talk about the rest of the season, shall we? If we have time.
Yeah.
I know you've
Come on
got to
in.
wrap it up. Oh, just play them off, Sam. Let's get it done. Yep. Good Hugo memories. They're both good and bad. But certainly formative.
And
Brody, good
on
perspective.
the anniversary kind of topics, next week we're going to start talking about Helene as well.
Yeah.
Coming up on a 1-year anniversary of that.
Yep. And it's why we need to focus our attention. The hurricane season does not end until December 1st. Mm-hmm. It has been a quiet, relatively speaking, season.
But you know what I found interesting? So we had this quietness basically around the peak of season.
Yep.
But did you know that the quiet kind of spell we had this season in September was the same, almost to the day exact duration, not the same time period, duration as we had in 2024 prior to Milton and Helene.
Right.
Remember in August?
I do.
It was just, there was nothing happening. So I think, and you're talking about Andrew. Andrew was an A-named storm in late August.
Correct.
So these dry spells don't let them. We've been fortunate, even with Aaron, it was a Cat 5 at one point that it churned towards the north. But things could easily switch. Let's say this trough weekends.
Yep.
We get a couple of tropical waves coming off the coast of Africa, and then things start to pick back up. You know what I always found interesting about this graphic? It's something I want to talk about. Look at October, like right around October 20th.
There's a little pop in there.
Yeah. It's like
It's a little pop.
It's like
we get those October surprises. So the question is, and the question we always get beginning of the hurricane season is it going to be a busy hurricane season? And you talk big picture and you talk about, well, there's going to be 16 hurricanes and 6 majors, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think it's cliche, and it gets said a lot, but there's truth to it. Busyness depends on the one. It just takes one.
Yeah.
And so you talk about Andrew and the A storm so late in the season, but people in South Florida who experienced that would say this was the busiest, worst hurricane season of my life.
And you know what happened after Andrew? And I only know this because of this peak season lull that we had.
Yeah.
There was like a 3-month break until Bonnie that happened in late October.
Yeah.
So it was like the 1992 season was literally like Andrew and then Bonnie.
Right.
And that was it. But everybody thinks about it. So you're right. It's cliche to say it only takes one, but really, we could have every single name get used up here, and they all could be Aaron storms out to sea, and then we would be like, yeah, 2025 was nothing.
Yeah, right. Right. Oh, we checked off 100 names, but they all did the recurve. So, it's interesting to talk about. I think, as we look to the rest of our season, as I know we got to wrap things up. Mr. Spett is going to go do that noon broadcast, so I want him imminently prepared. Got a lot to talk about. Got a lot of events happening this weekend, too.
Yeah.
But as we think about the rest of the season, I think we obviously continue to watch those African waves very, very carefully. But I think that untapped resource continues to be Western Caribbean and Gulf. So we'll keep our eyes focused firmly there as we take another look at Tropical Storm Gabrielle. And, while no major impacts to the East Coast, let's stay alert and stay prepared.
And like Lou just said, I'll be at noon here on First Coast News. Lou's going to be here this evening giving you the weather forecast.
Yep.
Thing I love about this forecast is fall equinox coming up.
Yep.
But we're gonna keep a close eye. Oh, this is 1 day off. The Jags game is on Sunday.
Yep.
It's not Monday, okay?
We got to move those leaves.
I got to move that over.
Yeah, we'll move that over. But yeah,
but
As far as rain chances go, when we're talking Jags, still there. All right, we're going to have to think about that. But the trend has been maybe a little more coastal. And if you get a few showers in the Jags, you might be thankful because the heat, might be a heat beater.
Yeah, you see the temperatures actually come down a little bit, and we might get lucky because I would rather have a little cloud, a little rain at the game. Not lightning, but little rain, a little cloud. Versus 90 degrees and sunshine, because that place
full-blown broil
oven.
Yeah,
that's why we're getting a roof at Everbank.
Need it sooner than later. 2028, right around the corner, folks. Mr. Spetta, thank you. Folks, thank you for watching. He mentioned the evening, and of course, we always stream at 4:30 as well. If this is your preferred platform and you love listening to the weather, we'll be right back here at 4:30. Of course, talking Tropics and a full weekend forecast for you too.